Further studies and further travels to Indonesia, to Australia, prompted fresh innovation. This time, not only with ink. Ek K began to experiment with oils and acrylic, and new tools, all of which came together in his painting of Mount Merapi in Indonesia.
One of the things that he did was he actually worked with a palette knife in place of a classical Chinese brush. And he used every dimension of the palette knife, the back of it, the flat side of it, just to create some form of texture. But the other clever thought that he actually had was experimenting with the idea of perspective. And one of the things which classical Chinese painting is that, everything's almost very flat. But he had tried to instill his own particular perspective on this, so that you looked at the foreground first before you actually looked at the background. So these were sort of like ideas that he was trying to, flirt with and sort of, come to terms with in these works. But for me, the magic was his actual use of the acrylic and the palette knife for this work.
Ek K frequently travelled with his close friend and fellow ink painter Lim Chun Jin, including a memorable trip to the Buddhist temple site of Borobudur in Indonesia.
We stayed in front of Borobudur, and that particular night, the moonshine is very bright. We enjoyed to be there. Ek K was very happy. He got a feeling, but he kept the feeling. When he came back, he did this piece. When I look at the work, I can really feel it. I am sitting right in front of the Borobudur with him. At the moment, he was so joyful, but at the same time, I just miss a friend. Just like that. Become memory. All these things become memory.
The temple site at Borobudur held special meaning for Ek K. He returned to visit it several times, and it became a recurring subject in his art. On one trip to Indonesia, Ek K worked with the abstract expressionist artist Putu. This experience would mark a turning point for Ek K.
Putu splashes paint around, mixes his acrylics with water, and has a good spontaneous involvement with his canvas, which was something very foreign to Ek K. They were both working on a canvas together. And when Putu started working on this canvas, Ek K's eyes almost popped. He was like, here's someone breaking every barrier that traditional Chinese art had. And Ek K was astounded, and he was also a bit sort of like unnerved by the whole experience. And I was there looking at it, and I could feel the tension in his eyes, and I removed myself from the whole situation, and I just let both of them get on with it. And when I came back about 10 minutes later, he was giggling, because he was having fun. It was as if he was liberated, or like a small child, allowed to do whatever he wanted to do in the toy shop. And he was splashing paint all over, and he was going for it with such a gusto. It was amazing. But there was genuine happiness in his expression, in his voice, in his strokes. He was just very happy.